Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. They say money can't buy happiness, but it sure can buy a one-way ticket to unhinged decision-making. Today on the rLounge, is money the root of all evil? Let's dive into that. Up first, some people go to wild lengths to avoid responsibility. Our first OP's mom, she went boating. My mom got a $30,000 personal loan in my name without my knowledge. The account is from February, which was when they had bought a boat. Now they've missed 4 payments, and they told me they're going to let it default since the boat can't be repossessed, and they're going to call DCFS on me. I knew my mom had her eye on a pontoon boat for the last year. She and my dad retired in 2022, and while they aren't swimming in money, they weren't hurting much for it either, or so I thought. They bought a boat in February for a little over $30,000. I didn't think a lot of it, since they always rented a pontoon boat 2 to 3 times a year and didn't appear to have money issues. At the start of July, I began getting my ducks in a row to buy a house. When I applied for a pre-approval, I found out my credit score was barely over 600 and I had an extra $30,000 in debt I had no idea about. Even worse, it was 90 days late. I told the lender the account wasn't mine and he said my identity had probably been stolen, but it was probably someone close to me as the money would have to go to a bank account with my name on it. I shared a bank account with my ex-fiancé and asked the bank to look into it. They said the account had been closed a couple of years ago, when we broke up, and no attempts to send money to it or take money from it have been made since. I filed a dispute with the company and the credit agencies as it was obvious to me that I had been hacked or my identity had been stolen. About a week ago, I got a notice from the company to my apartment. First I had ever heard from them, saying they were going to charge off the account if payment wasn't made. I requested more information from them and they linked me to their fraud department. They were able to tell me where the money was sent, to a bank account from when I was a minor that I shared with my mom. When I called the bank, they confirmed there was activity on the account and the statements showed the loan coming in and almost all of the money being transferred into what looks like my mom's account at the same bank. I haven't used that bank in more than a decade. I called my mom and asked her about it, and she, after a long pause, said that's how they bought the boat. They made one payment on the account and realized they probably couldn't afford the monthly payment for the next 5 years. When I asked why they hadn't told me, she said it was because they figured I would say no, they were right, and that they had worked hard in their lives and wanted to enjoy the retirement. It ended by them saying the boat couldn't be repossessed because it was a personal loan. My mom suggested declaring bankruptcy, and I told them I was going to the police. My mom said not to do that because they wouldn't take it seriously. When I told her I was doing it anyway, she hinted that she might have to call DCFS on me. My 2-year-old burned themselves on a hot pan earlier this year. Simple ER visit and was told accidents happen. He's fine. Regarding an unsafe home. I think I'm still going to the police because declaring bankruptcy would make it impossible to buy a house. I just needed to vent and looking for any advice. Let's get some advice from the community. First up, she stole $30,000, potentially ruined your financial future for 7 years, threatened to put your child in a situation where they could be taken and put in foster care for an effing pontoon boat? Next bit of advice. OP, make sure you mention they are effectively trying to blackmail you into not reporting and have them add it to the police report. Get a copy of that police report and keep it near the door. If DCFS gets called, allow them to check out your home and child and show them the police report. By reporting it first, you come out swinging and get the drop on them. Don't let their threats prevent you from getting your life in order. One more bit of advice. 100% this. I had a family member threaten CPS on me and my wife. I called and reported the incident, including the threat to the police. Sure enough, CPS shows up at my house, followed by a lawsuit to take my kids by my family member. Had one court case. CPS dropped their investigation, and the family member got reamed in court for wasting resources and made to cover my legal fees. As if stealing $30,000 in your name wasn't bad enough, they had the audacity to threaten you with CPS to keep you quiet? That's beyond messed up. You're absolutely right to go to the police. It's a lot to deal with, especially since they're your parents. But don't let them manipulate you into sacrificing your future just so they can hold on to a boat they couldn't afford in the first place. You're doing the right thing by standing up for yourself. Update 3 months later. I filed my police report the same day as my first post. The officer and I talked for probably 20 minutes and I printed out a statement from the bank. I spoke with a detective a couple days later for another 20 minutes. Fast forward about 2.5 weeks and my dad called saying my mom had been arrested. He said an officer and a detective showed up at their house asking to speak with her. When she went onto the porch, they grabbed her and arrested her. The detective, same one I talked to, explained that they had a warrant. My mom has never been in trouble with the law in her life, and she got arrested on a felony. They tried talking to her and she immediately requested a lawyer. They stopped asking questions, but didn't let her see a lawyer right away. My dad was furious, but the detective told him to have a lawyer go down to county jail in the morning before she went to the judge. The next morning, apparently, she and the lawyer talked, and she was released in the afternoon with a new court date. About a week later, I got a call from DCFS requesting to meet with me about my son. I had nothing to hide, so I agreed. We spoke for about half an hour at my apartment, and I explained the situation. She seemed understanding and told me there are no obvious issues. She just had to follow up on a report. I will say if I'm ever in trouble, I'm hiring a lawyer. The case was dismissed at her next court date in late September. The detective called me the next day and explained the state attorney believed that they wouldn't be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt she intentionally stole my identity. He said he figured it was BS reason because he had documents from the bank and loan company. He said the state attorney drops a lot of cases, even open and shut ones, especially when it's not violent and they have a hired attorney. She never made a statement other than her attorney telling the detective she didn't do it. He also said the loan company might go after my mom in the lawsuit. What brings me back here is that a couple of weeks ago, the account dropped from my credit. Even better, though, I got a letter from DCFS yesterday saying the allegation against me was unfounded. I'm never talking to that piece of trash mom again. Thank you everyone who gave me advice and hope in my first post. It just sucks that she is probably going to end up with a free boat out of it, unless the loan company sues her, which I hope they do. Let's get a couple more comments, shall we? First up, send the loan company the address where the boat is kept, with a photo. Next piece of advice, the problem is they took out a personal loan, not a boat loan. In other words, they borrowed cash in her name and then bought the boat with cash, so the boat is not collateral for the loan. They might be able to sue the parents, but they'd have to basically prove in civil court what the state's attorney would not bother prosecuting, which would probably cost more than $30,000 in legal fees. Next up, personally, if my parents called DCFS on me for revenge, that would be the end of my relationship with them, never to be revived again. Next comment, I would never let them see the grandchildren, OP. Freeze your children's credit, too. One more quick comment. I'd send them pictures, though. Here's a picture of your grandchild that you'll never see again. I feel bad the poor kids lost a grandparent, but they're not worthy. New update, 3 months later. I'm happy to say nothing else has popped up on my credit in the last 3 months. What I'm really happy to say is that the credit card company itself is suing my mom for almost $40,000 according to my aunt. I no longer talk to my mom, but she messaged me on Facebook last week. She had the nerve to ask me to both ask the credit card company to drop the lawsuit and pay half of what they're asking for with the understanding that I'll be paid back at some point. Both of these with the veiled threat she will call DCFS again if I don't. No and no. She's seen the consequences of her actions. Now back to more comments. First up, keep the messages. Show them to the DCFS worker. Depending on the jurisdiction, making false reports could be an offense. Next comment, especially if she really said she would call DCFS again, then that's proof. The first call, which opened an investigation, was fraudulent and malicious. Even without her calling again, they could use that to go back and charge her with the initial call and double so if she did call again. Next comment. What a trash excuse for a mother, honestly. What kind of mental gymnastics is she playing? Good God. And one more comment. It's stories like this that remind me that just anyone can have a kid. Like literally anyone who feels like it. Not that that's bad, but still. Having a kid really just doesn't mean crap for your personality, does it? Is this chick for real? First, she steals your identity and gets arrested. Tries to have your kid taken away out of spite. And now she has the nerve to ask you to help pay off the lawsuit she brought on herself? At this point, I'd also make sure your credit is still locked down and keep an eye on any attempts to open new accounts in your name. She sounds desperate enough to try something else shady. What would you have done if you were OP? Let us know below. Up next, a house, a girlfriend, and one big reality check. Am I the a-hole for buying a house without consulting my girlfriend of 4 months? I, 37 male, am a single dad with 2 kids, 16 male and 14 male. I met my girlfriend, 32 female, back in February. We dated casually and non-exclusively until September, and then began dating exclusively. My girlfriend has indicated that she wants to have kids. She has no kids currently. I am definitely open to that, but I've told her only after dating at least a couple of years. I have been looking to buy a new home. I absolutely hate living where I am living. I bought it when my kids were little, and it was convenient then. But my work is 30 minutes away and the boys' school is 45 minutes away. A house came on the market in a neighborhood 5 minutes from work and 10 to 15 minutes from the boys' school, and was listed well below market value. My realtor called me. I saw it the same day and made an offer. The offer was accepted. I told my girlfriend the good news. She was less than thrilled. She asked why I did not consult her. I have been looking for about a year, and the reality is houses go quickly, often not even on the market for a day if reasonably priced. I had to move quickly. I explained all this, but she is still upset. I talked to my sister, 34 female, about this. She says she gets her frustration. My sister said that she was in the same position 2 years ago. She was a single woman in her early 30s looking to get married and have kids soon. In that 2 years, she met her husband, got married, and had a kid. So from her perspective, my girlfriend is thinking that this is the home her kids are potentially going to be raised in. I can see that, but I feel that it is a little premature to expect I will consult my girlfriend of 4 months before buying a home. That is moving a little too fast from my perspective. Am I the a-hole? Ask an opinion, you're going to get it here in the comments. Not the a-hole. You've only been exclusive since September. Sure, she might be imagining a life with you, but that doesn't mean she has a say in your housing now. Next up, true, as a single dad, your primary responsibility is your children. You have the right to make choices that prioritize yours and your kids' well-being. Next piece of advice. The issue here being the girlfriend is on a speed track to marriage and kids in a few years, like the sister who did it in 2. So these 4 months are probably about a year for her, where OP said he may be up to having kids in a couple of years. To me, it sounds like he's on a slow track where 3 years down the road, they talk about having a kid. OP, I think you and your girlfriend are going different speeds and need to have a sit-down conversation about what you want and when. One more bit of advice. Not the a-hole. It's too soon in the relationship for her to force an opinion on a house you bought with your money, regardless of her biological clock. The overall judgment was not the a-hole. Update 1 month later. I posted a month ago and really haven't had a chance to stop and have a heart-to-heart conversation with my girlfriend. I've been dealing with the holidays and all that comes with that with 2 kids, family commitments, kids being out of school, travel, etc. Going through everything to close on the house, getting my house in shape to put on the market. Then my oldest got sick, my youngest got sick, and then I got sick. We finally were able to basically set aside a day on Sunday for just the 2 of us to go really in depth. First, she apologized for how she handled the news of the house. She agrees that she was being too hasty, but then she explained why she is this way. For 3 years, she has been looking for a guy who is 1, single, 2, faithful, 3, without any major vices, 4, decent looking, 5, financially stable enough to support a kid, and 6, not too old to have another child. She has said finding a guy who meets those criteria is willing to commit to a woman in her late 20s, early 30s, as compared to a woman in her early to mid 20s, is like finding a dang unicorn. She says she feels in uncharted territory and sometimes does not know how to respond appropriately. But she wants us to move at whatever pace I feel comfortable. She recognizes I need to prioritize the boys above all else, including potential future kids with her. Second, I showed her the house and she seems to love it. She said it reminded her of her grandparents' house. She showed me some photos from before her grandparents sold their house, and there are some similarities. Third, we are still dating, but moving at my pace. I'm keeping my eyes wide open here. Let's wrap this up with a couple more comments. It is good that she can recognize and articulate why she reacted that way and that she was wrong. Also good that your eyes remain open. One more. Glad she recognizes how hard she was tripping. 4 months in, and she expected a say in real estate decisions? I don't think so. Buying a house is a huge commitment, and your priority has to be your kids, not a relatively new relationship. It's like, can I get to know your favorite color first before we start looking at house blueprints? Thanks. What do you think? Should OP have included her in the decision? And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.